Hi, everyone. I'm Ginny with Ginnypreneur, and my series for small business interviews is called Zoom In with Ginnypreneur. Today, I'm welcoming JB Braden. I am so honored to have him join us and tell you about his experience. He is an inspirational speaker, trainer, and he has been in front of over 1.5 million people. This guy even helped me. and I needed a lot of help. So I'm really excited to have him here today with us. I had an idea in my head, and he ended up making it come together in a way that I just could not see. So let's get started, JB.
Okay.
I want to introduce you as an inspirational coach, first of all. And in the past, you've also been a life coach. So give us an idea of your journey. How'd you get here? Because you've been doing it for over 20 years and you're only 25.
Well, don't believe what Ginny just said about that last part. I am definitely not just 25. That's so funny. No, I've been speaking for over 20 years, and then I've been coaching I've coached speakers for about half that time. And then I became a certified coach back in 2016. And like you said, I started out as a life coaching and that sort of thing, but now I only focus on speaker coaching. So speaker coaching and speaking. But how I got there, especially in coaching, well, my speaking journey started years ago for a company called Make an Account. And they were looking for speakers to speak in high schools. And so I applied. I didn't know if I was going to get picked, but I got picked. I went to one of their first trainings years ago, and it was a life-changing experience. A lot of great people I've met, still know some of them today, still connect with some of them today. Met some really, really good trainers and coaches. So I've had an opportunity to train with some really, really good speaker coaches, which has really helped me a lot. So I started there working for them for several years, and then a buddy of mine that I met through that organization introduced me to an organization called Rachel's Challenge. And for those who are not familiar with Rachel's Challenge, it's the story of Rachel Scott, who was the first person killed in the Columbine tragedy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that's in Denver.
And so after she died, her father started going to different schools and just sharing with students on how to stop bullying and eliminating and excluding people. And her message was a message of kindness. She wanted to start a chain reaction of kindness. That's one of the things that they found in her journal that she wrote. So she went to school every day, wanted to start and went out of her way to be kind to people, show people kindness. And that was her goal. And so the message that we did when we would go to the schools and we would share her message and then show the schools how to, start an atmosphere of kindness and compassion. And so I did that for over 12 years, working with that organization, traveling around the country. So that's been good. So I had a lot of opportunities to speak on a lot of stages and really get good at what I do. And so that's kind of my journey for speaking and how that got started. And then for coaching, I used to coach youth sports. I coached when my son started playing sports. I started coaching him in sports, basketball, football, baseball. And then along the way, my stepdaughter, she wanted to play softball. So I got into coaching softball. She quit when she started when she was about 5, quit when she was about 9. And I was like, well, it's too late. I love this sport. So I'm going to keep going, right? And so I started coaching with a couple of buddies of mine who had daughters who were serious about it. And I really got into coaching, softball, and I just love coaching. And I realized that was my gift and my passion. And so as I coached, different levels of sports for well over 20 years as well. But when when my son got older and my softball players got older, I looked around. I was like, well, I love this coaching thing. What else can I do? in the coaching realm, to honor my gift and my calling. And so I looked up life coaching. Like, well, maybe I can take this to the, to business owners and people in life. And I found that there was this thing called life coaching several years ago. And I said, well, how do I get certified? So I went and I looked it up, got certified through an organization called Coach U. And that started my coaching journey. And then so I worked with a coach as well, who was been in the business for well over, she's been in business almost 30 years. But she really helped me in getting started and getting going. And then so over the last few years, I've been just developing my coaching business. And then recently I made the transition from specifically what my superpower is, and that's just teaching people how to be more effective speakers. And so that's what I do. I'm a speaker coach and a speaker. So that's my focus.
Well, and I'm going to share with people that JB has helped me tremendously, because last year I connected with him through an organization, a networking organization called Achieve Systems, which he is in.
Yeah.
And that was where we connected. And I couldn't help but sign up right away, because we just had such a great connection. He just knows how to pull out of you the important information. And for me, that was a time when I was all over the place, wondering, I've got this idea and JB, how can I pull it together? And he just looks at me and he goes, Ginny, that's easy. It'll just flow. And he showed me how it would flow. And I go, wow, why didn't I think of that? I've been talking about this out to everybody for a whole year and nobody came up with that idea. So I actually loved it. And a lot of my hang up is always that I think that I should do it a certain way and I want to be perfect. And working with JB he just makes it so comfortable. It's okay. I always want my notes. And so that's the big joke between the two of us. No, JB, I'm reading this. And so one day he'll teach me a little bit of confidence and strength to get onto the stage. And I won't even need my notes, because he tells me all the time, you're telling your story. And that's what people don't realize. So carrying that further, what I was reading about on LinkedIn, it is how you help even small business owners use it as a tool for getting onto the stage and bringing in clients. And I love that part, call to action at the end of your speech. And
right.
That's what's so important for people. Yeah, you can talk all you want, but if you can't convert people in the audience to your product or what you're selling, you might as well be talking to a wall.
Right. No, totally agree. It's one of those things that I've learned along the way. And whenever you put together a presentation, one of the first things that you ask yourself is, what's the purpose of this presentation? Right. And that because that's one of the first questions that you had to answer and get clear on. You got to get clear on what's the purpose of your presentation first. And so when we work with entrepreneurs and leadership teams, it's like, okay, what's the purpose? Is the purpose just to educate the audience? And if it is, that's okay. You just need to craft the presentation in a certain way. However, if the presentation, if you want people in the audience to do something with you, whether it's buy your book, sign up for your workshop or whatever you have, whether it's a product or service, if you want them to purchase something from you, move to a next level with you or something, even if it's just signing up for a complimentary, interview or whatever the case may be, right?
Yeah.
The presentation has to be designed a certain way, right? And it involves some of those elements. And one of those key elements that we talked, like you just mentioned, was being able to share your story in a way that it connects to the audience, that it inspires the audience, that it engages with the audience, as well as being able to share stories throughout. And so that's a very big part. And so when we work with our entrepreneurs, we show them how to use speaking as one of their marketing strategies, because I believe speaking is one of the best marketing strategies to grow your business. And so we're out there teaching entrepreneurs how to do that, how to craft a signature presentation so that they can use it on a stage, so they can use it on whether it be a live stage or a virtual stage. And then you can use pieces of it. You can always use pieces of your signature presentation. For instance, if you're on a podcast, you're a guest on a podcast and somebody asks you to tell your story, then you already have it dialed in so you can tell it, right? And so those are key things about having a signature presentation and why it's so important to have that in your toolbox.
So what's your age group now? Are you still focused on the young teenagers, high schools, that area? Or
no, I don't speak in the schools anymore. I speak mostly with business owners, entrepreneurs, and executive leadership teams, because I still work with executive leadership teams, but instead of doing leadership coaching, I do presentation and speaking skills coaching.
And do you do it virtually, or are you able now to get out there to different locations?
As far as coaching, I do virtually, and then just depending on the organization. But as far as speaking, yes, absolutely, getting back out there. I prefer to be in the live venues. I had the privilege of speaking yesterday at a live event, and it was great. Getting back out there and speaking on live stages is what I'm looking forward to doing. And so it's just a different feeling being in front of a live audience, because it's just something about being able to feel their energy, experience their enthusiasm, and they experience your enthusiasm and your energy. And it's nothing like it. So definitely looking forward to getting back out there more this year now that things are opening up.
So what would you advise to someone who wants to get into the speaking field and they've got that fear and they've got shaky legs and, that syndrome of, there are all sorts of syndromes that you can have of being scared.
Yeah, I would encourage you to ask yourself why. What are you scared of, right? Because a lot of people are afraid to ask, well, why am I afraid of it? I remember people would ask me this a lot when I first started speaking, right? They would say, well, don't you get afraid? I said, well, I used to. When I first started, I was afraid. I had this fear, but I asked myself, well, what am I afraid of? And my answer was, well, I'm afraid of messing up and looking bad. And then I said, well, okay, how can I eliminate that? Well, I just prepare. Okay. If I prepare to the point where I'm very, very comfortable doing the presentation, then that for me, it eliminates that. I'm not going to mess it up. Because I prepared myself, and so it's all in the preparation for me, and I say that for everyone, you need to prepare. But if you're afraid that you're going to mess up and look bad, then eliminate that, from the equation.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, just keep preparing. And I've heard that you have to say it over and over again. I remember listening to Eric Worre, who did his first presentation in front of a huge group because he had a bet going, and he did it flawlessly. But there's something about the rule of 1,000 or something like that. And what other things do you have to do to get prepared for it? Is that the main thing? Do you have to know things like, when you look at a page, okay, this takes me a minute to get through it, or how can I be flexible here, or can I use little cheat sheets? Ginny's a cheat sheeter.
Right. And here's the thing. The thing is, the way you can design your presentation to where You know how long it takes to do the opening story in the beginning. You know how long it takes to do your call to action and your closing, right? And so in the middle of the presentation, when you're putting together your content, that's your educational piece that you're teaching your audience. Then that's the flexible part, okay?
Yeah.
So you know that I can expand some things here. I can add some things. If I'm going from a 30-minute presentation to an hour presentation, then I can expand here. Maybe I could include an extra story or an extra educational piece, or whatever the case may be. So having the ability to be able to do that, and not everybody knows how, but when you structure the presentation the right way, then that's easy to do. So that's usually something that you want to make sure that in your presentation you're able to you know where to expand or contract it, so to speak.
Okay.
So that's very important. But just speaking, going back to the question you asked about people who are afraid, I really encourage you, if you're afraid of getting up and speaking, to start asking yourself, why? What is it? What am I afraid of? You know,
Yeah.
because usually it's just some story you're telling to yourself. It doesn't matter. And the other thing that I realized, Ginny, when I was going through I'm afraid I'm going to mess up.
Yeah.
So I put in the preparation piece, you know, practice. That's very important. And just know what you want to say. And even if I get up there and I say something differently than I said it the way I practice it, who's going to know but me? That's the other thing, right? The audience is not going to know, as long as I'm delivering the message the way I want to deliver the message. How I say something doesn't always matter. Okay.
Yeah.
So I make sure I understand my message that I want to give to the audience. Okay. And I may not say it exactly the same way every time. Right.
Well,
And if
that's
I
better,
don't,
isn't it? So in case
yeah,
somebody's already heard your talk, then you're not just repeating the same words over and over.
right. But getting out the right message. And so I always ask people, you know, make sure that you understand the message you want to say, right?
Right.
What's the message? It's not so much the words, but the message. The words will come if you understand the message you want to get out to them. And so, and most of the time, a lot of times the stories that we tell ourselves about why we're afraid, they're not true anyway. And
Yeah.
so I would just say, ask yourself, what are you afraid of and why you're afraid of that, and eliminate it.
Yeah.
Eliminate the reason why you're afraid. And then that'll help you move forward to the next step,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. So I want people to know I'm getting advice here while I'm talking with JB. So, so this is not just for the viewers, but also for me. And so what kind of tips would you give anyone? I mean, you've already gone over a whole bunch of different types of tips for, so you deal with entrepreneurs and anyone who wants to get into the speaking realm.
Right.
But are there any other tips that you would recommend other than just keep practicing and maybe work with a coach to perfect it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have been huge for me to craft my message. And just as you say, if you don't have a good message, then that's part of the fear, I think, that happens in you.
Right.
Is you want to inspire, or you want your audience to walk away with that message, whatever it is. And crafting it sometimes is really hard, because I know for me, my mind goes like crazy and I think of all sorts of things that I want to put into a message, but a lot of that is jarble.
Right.
And people don't need to hear all that stuff. So narrowing it down is probably easiest if you have an objective coach, someone who can move you along the way you want. And once again, JB, you help me with saying, yes, this can happen.
Right.
And a lot of times you hear, I don't think that message is so great. Why do you want to do that? Blah, blah, blah. You know, and so you doubt yourself that you have a good message. And
Right.
sometimes it's going by your heart or your gut.
Yeah. Right.
Forward.
Well, for people who are serious about speaking and getting good at it, then if you're not working with a coach, then you're not going to get very good. You
Yeah.
you may be good, but you're not going to be at the level you could be. I mean, I would not be where I'm at. I would not be as good as I am if I hadn't had coaches along the way to teach me, to show me, hey, you're doing it. And I'll give you a perfect example of what I'm talking about, because there's things that you don't know, what you don't know. And one of my first trainings in the speaking world, I was doing a presentation and I did good. I learned the presentation, and from beginning to end, I did well. And then my coach looked at me, he goes, do you realize you didn't smile a single time doing that presentation?
Whoops.
And then he taught me how to, why it's important to smile, but also where in your presentation to smile, right?
Yeah.
And I'll give you another example. I had a client that I was working with a few years ago, and in her presentation, there's this part where she tells a very serious part of the story, where she was smiling during that entire time, which took away from the seriousness of the story, because it was a dramatic part of the story. But she was smiling because she was nervous. Okay. But those are little things like that. You don't know that you have to work with a coach. So here's what I say for people out there who are serious about that, they really want to get very good at speaking and be the best that they can be. Then you need to work with a coach, whether you work with me or someone else, it doesn't matter. You just need to make sure they know what they're doing and you understand the purpose of your presentation, because there's coaches out there that can teach you public speaking skills. Okay. Right. But that's different than teaching you how to craft an effective presentation. So you need to know what you want from your speaking so you can understand what type of speaker coach to hire, right? Because, you just have to know that. And so if you say, okay, well, I want to, I want to use speaking as a marketing, strategy for growing my business. Well, then you need to hire somebody like me that can help you do that. Okay. But can also make you better with your speaking skills. Some of us are very skilled at doing quite a bit. I've been blessed. Okay. I can teach you speaking skills. I can teach you how to put together a presentation. I can also teach you how to put together a training. I can teach you the difference between doing a keynote presentation and doing a 2-hour training. Okay. Because there's different skill sets for both of them. However, I've had the privilege of being able to master those skills along the way. And so you just need to know who you're working with and what you want. But if you're not serious about getting out there and being one of the best speakers, then you don't have to hire a coach. Just, fly by the seat of your pants. But if you're really serious about getting good and making money at doing this and being able to monetize a stage and learn how to do that on a regular basis, then you need to work with a coach.
Yeah. And probably the best way to do it is just try several different ones, meaning take a couple minutes or get a call with a coach until you narrow down the one that you have the best rapport. It's almost an immediate thing when you are comfortable with someone, don't you think?
Yeah, you want to make sure it's somebody you can work with and that they understand what you're looking for as well. That's why you need to know what you're looking for, right? That's why you need to know what your purpose is for your speaking.
Oh,
that's the first thing, because that's the first thing I'm going to ask you. If you sit down with me, the first thing I'm going to find out is, what is your purpose? What do you want from this? Okay. And then based on that, I'll tell you if it's something that if we'll work well together, right? Or if you need someone else. So that's the first thing you need to understand is, what's my purpose? Is my purpose to go out there, speak on big stages, and eventually get paid for speaking? Okay, then that's one thing. I just want to become more comfortable talking in front of people. That's a whole different goal, right?
Yeah.
Which requires different work, different plan, different strategy.
Yeah.
And so knowing what you want out of your speaking is very important. If you want to be really, really good, know how to craft a presentation and tell stories effectively, and then also get paid for doing it, monetize your stage, that's a different plan. It requires a different level of coach.
One thing that's going through my head, JB, is some people think of Toastmasters. So I've dabbled in Toastmasters, but I just didn't want to take 3 years of doing that approach. Right. And that was one reason why I wanted to go with you. And and another benefit that I saw was the direct one-on-one. Of course, you choose that, but some people don't allow themselves to pay for a coach, but
Right.
they forget that they went to college and paid all this money for a profession,
Right.
and they have to finally be okay with spending the money. Do you really want to be a good speaker? Such as for myself, I spent a whole year, I'm sure, agonizing. Well, people are telling me, oh, you don't need that. You're
Right.
good. No, I'm not. So you have to listen to your own voice and not get swayed, and realize that you have to invest in yourself and choose the best university
Right.
person. I say university, but find the best coach. So
Yeah, but
Toastmasters is what I'm referring to. What are your thoughts on that?
well, here's the thing. I had been speaking for 20, 15, 16 years before I went to a first Toastmasters. It goes back to, what is your purpose? Toastmasters is a great organization and they serve a purpose. And one of the biggest purposes that they serve is getting people comfortable speaking in front of groups. Okay. So let's just say you are one of those people who you're afraid to get in front of groups. Toastmasters is a great place to do that. Okay. Because you can go and you can speak every week, every month in front of a group, and it's a safe environment. Most of the organizations that I've seen, they're a safe environment, but it gives you the reps of getting up there, because you need to be, the more you get up there in front of people doing, presentations and speeches, the more comfortable you get. And so Toastmasters is great for that. Okay. But if you say, I want to be a professional speaker and get paid for it, then Toastmasters, it's not designed to show you how to do that. That's not their objective, and that's not how they're designed. They're designed to get you comfortable speaking in front of people and teaching you basic public speaking skills. And it's a very, very good organization. And some very, very good speakers have come out of that. And you can advance as you go, because you sharpen your skills, you sharpen how to put together presentations, how to communicate effectively, all of those good things. And so it's very important, so it just depends on what you want to do. And what's your objective?
Yep, I love that. That's great. And we'll have to wrap this up. Is there any final advice that you have for us, JB?
One thing you said earlier that I want to mention, and I'll give you this advice. When people tell you, people who are giving you advice, and you're listening to it, ask yourself the question: have they traveled the road that you want to go down?
Ooh, wow.
And the reason I say that is because somebody was telling me yesterday that they had a client who would not do their coaching client, who wouldn't do the work that she needed to do in order to take the next step to get where she wanted to go. And she kept listening to somebody in her family saying, well, you don't need to work with a coach. A coach is not going to help you. And so she wasn't doing her work.
Oh,
right?
Wow. Yeah.
And this person had never worked with a coach, but yet she was listening to that person. Also, this person had different goals than she did, right?
Yeah.
And so this person couldn't help her get to where she wanted to go, but yet the person was telling her, don't work with a coach. So she stopped listening to that person, and now she's on her way to getting to her goal. So,
wow.
So I just tell people, listen, be careful who you're getting listening to in your inner circle. It could be your mom, it could be your dad, it could be your sister. But if they haven't traveled down the road that you want to go down, if their goals are different, why are you listening to them? That's my advice.
Oh, JB. Ooh, wow. That hits home so hard. Boom. Well, thank you, JB. I really appreciate all this input. I'm sure that the small business owner or potential person who wants to be in small business is going to get so much value from everything that you've taught us today. So thank you for coming on, spending some time with us. And how can they get in touch with you?
It's been my pleasure, Jenny. Thank you for the invite. You can get a hold of me. You can email me at jb@beyondthefieldcoaching.com, or you can go to my website, beyondthefieldcoaching.com, and schedule some time with me.
That sounds great. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing comments and likes of this interview, because This was lots of fun. Thank you, JB, for joining us.
Thank you, Jenny. Appreciate you.
Thanks. Take care.
You too.
All right. Bye.
Bye.